Almost every entity in Python is an object containing data, and typically metadata and some functionalities. Think about it. Therefore, we can say that a Python object is associated with a certain collection of attributes and methods. Attributes provide the metadata, while methods relate to the functionalities and behavior of the object. While attributes are somehow passive, since they can only deliver information about a given dataset, methods are active, in the sense that they actually work with the data stored in the object. To refine our understanding of why we need Python methods, let's compare methods and functions. Both tools are very similar because when provided with some initial data, they can make specific operations with it and return an output. However, a function is an independent entity in the sense that it is not associated with an object by construction. On the contrary, a method from a given package is generally applied to an object of a certain class. More precisely, when called or invoked, a method can have access to the object's data and can also manipulate the object's state. For this reason, since we can't use a method unless there's an object to associate it with, different libraries contain their own sets of methods. Thus, they can be applied to the types of objects associated with these libraries only. For instance, there's a certain group of methods in Pandas that are specific to the series object. They can't be used on data frames or objects belonging to other packages. In the rest of this lecture, we will focus on working with some well-known Pandas series methods. But, once again, the approach we adopt will be applicable when using the Python or NumPy methods as well. That said, let's leave theory aside and start coding. We can go back to Jupyter and execute the code written in the selected cell to create the series object we intend to work with. We'll call it startDateDeposits. In the next cell, we will display the new variable. We can see that it contains deposit values and the start dates of these deposits. Start dates have been organized into indices. There are several operations we can perform here by using Pandas methods. For instance, if we want to sum the values of all deposits, we can invoke the sum method. The syntax we'll need begins with the object's name, the dot operator, and the method's name. In our case, this will sound like startDateDeposits.sum. It is very important to remember that this code is not going to be sufficient. To prove this, we can execute the cell now. We obtain an incomplete and badly organized output, which means that no value has been returned. To solve this, we must always add parentheses right after the method's name. If we do that and execute the cell now, we will obtain the sum of all values contained in the series. You see? Great! In the same way, we can call the min method, which will return the minimum of the values for the vertical axis. To prove that we worked correctly, we can scroll up to verify that startDateDeposits does not contain any value lower than 1000. Analogously, we can invoke the max method to obtain the maximum of the values. A quick check with the contents of our series confirms that 4000 is the highest value we have there. So, it turns out that using methods is an efficient way to obtain important information from our dataset. Please note, this isn't information about, but is information from our dataset. Do you agree? Now, let's examine a few other methods you will use frequently. What if you wanted to obtain the index label corresponding to the highest value in a series? In that case, you'll need a method called IDXMax. Apparently, the IDX part of the name stands for index. As we invoke it on startDateDeposits, we obtain a certain date that is supposed to point to the maximum value from the series, which we have just determined to be 4000. So, to prove that this method works correctly, we can scroll to see that the index label we obtained corresponds to the value of 4000. Great! Finally, as you've probably guessed by now, there is a method called IDXmin. It aims to deliver the start date of the deposit with the smallest value. It is the 8th of December, 2012. You see? Perfect! You will be constantly using methods when working with Python or any of its related libraries and packages. Therefore, please make sure to solidify your understanding of this concept by completing the exercises attached to this lecture and rewatching parts of this video if necessary. In the next one, we will continue our discussion on the same topic. See you there.